So it has been named by various websites and publications a best of city for families, for female entrepreneurs, for young professionals, as well as a best of all around suburb of Washington, D.C. Welcome to Rockville, Maryland, everyone. I am Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. Today we're going to chat about Rockville and what makes it great to live here, pros and cons and all that good stuff. So Rockville's a very diverse community, as noted in the housing market analysis report that was commissioned by the city of Rockville. It's also the county seat of government for Montgomery County, Maryland. Locally, when people think of Rockville, you may get an eye roll because they're thinking of Rockville Pike. So some people kind of find Rockville and thus Rockville Pike being the epitome of the soul-sucking suburb of DC. I don't know. I have a secret. I lived in Rockville for 2 years. I love Rockville Pike. I love it. I think anything that you could possibly want in life is actually on Rockville Pike. You could prove me wrong about that. So if a main drag with a lot of traffic isn't your thing and a lot of big box stores, I actually have good news for you. Rockville's comprised of dozens of little neighborhoods, each with their own personality. So less urban than Bethesda, but definitely not quite as suburban and rural as Mayberry. I personally think there is so much to love about Rockville that pretty much everybody can find their home here. So the location of Rockville. The boundaries of Rockville include the part inside the city limits and then the rest of Rockville, which actually extends pretty far to the east. If you are inside city limits, you're gonna have like different trash and municipal services than your neighbor might across the street if they are not in the city limits. Red Line Metro services Rockville with stations in downtown Rockville as well as Twinbrook. On the northern end, there's a station at Shady Grove, which is the end of the Red Line. Some people may consider Shady Grove to be Gaithersburg because it is Gaithersburg across the street. Actually does have a Rockville mailing address. So Interstate 270 runs through Rockville, splitting it into east and west, and that is also same deal with 355, which is also known as Rockville Pike. It runs north-south through Rockville and splits it east and west. As you may have guessed, if you're doing the math in your head here, 270 and 355 pretty much run parallel to each other. So a little bit of history about Rockville. Rockville used to be part of Prince George's County. Then it was part of Frederick County, but as they kind of moved these county lines around in 1776, it was separated into its current day location of Montgomery County. Formerly, it was known by many other names though, and that was just based off like people who may have spent time there or places that were there. There was a Hungerford Tavern that they sometimes called it Hungerford, before they finally did actually name it Rockville. So the original buildings were in what is now downtown Rockville, and then Rockville was incorporated in 1860. So there were many records for the city that were destroyed by Confederate soldiers though. Don't forget, we are below the Mason Dixon line here. This was the South during the Civil War. In the mid-1900s, things in Rockville were kind of declining quite a bit, and then Rockville became the first city in Maryland to become part of an urban renewal plan. So buildings were knocked down, attempts were made to revitalize the city, and it really took quite some time for Rockville to become more of what we see today. Retail also moved out to 355 at that time, along Rockville Pike. You still will find retail and restaurants in other areas, of course, but the majority of it is on 355. So did you know that Rockville, along with Bethesda to the south and Gaithersburg to the north, is part of a technology corridor, home to tons and tons of software and biotech companies? Another fun fact for you, 𝐹. and Zelda Fitzgerald are actually buried in Rockville. So what is going on with real estate and houses here? Well, there's a huge variety of homes. There are condos, apartments, townhomes, and single family homes. There's also a historic district where homes there are 100 years old and older, as well as relatively new homes. Here's a note about the historic district. Don't fuck with them. No, I'm totally serious, and I'm going to say it again because some of you probably didn't hear me. Do not fuck with the Rockville Historic District. They will mop the floor with you, I promise. Don't do it. So condos range from the 200,000s to the 700s. Townhomes can start in the 400s for smaller townhouses and go up into the low 1 million's for a large 4 to 5 bedroom townhome that's newer. Single family homes range from small ramblers like on the eastern side of Rockville. These neighborhoods tend to be like a little bit older. They've got homes in the 500,000s. You can spend into the 800,000 or 900,000s for a home on the western side of Rockville, like in the Wootton High School District. If you want to pay over $1 million, you absolutely can. And it will probably get you like 4,000 square feet or more, and definitely some more land. All right. What about the eats? What's for food? What's eaten in Rockville? Well, there's a farmer's market in Rockville and every grocery store that you could ever possibly want. If you need a warehouse store, Costco is in the next city in Gaithersburg. There is Safeway, Giant, Harris Teeter, Trader Joe's, Mom's Organic, plus a ton of smaller ethnic grocery stores that are really cool and have a lot of really neat stuff that are just like, they're worth the drive to even go there. There's a Middle Eastern grocery store that my husband and I will drive to Rockville specifically to go to. As far as restaurants, it's a food mecca, but it's not a food mecca in the highbrow way that sometimes people think. And the fact that I called it a food mecca, there's probably locals who are rolling their eyes at me. Look, this isn't like a place you go to find Michelin star restaurants and like the latest chef. Like you're in the suburbs. Like it's urban, but you're in the suburbs. If you pull up restaurants on Google and you look at what Rockville has to offer, a lot of them have been rated very highly by people, 4.5 stars up to 5 stars. And there's a lot available. So if you want the standard American fare, I always tell people to go to Clyde's Tower Oaks Lodge, which is in the Tower Oaks area, just off of 270. There is also Stanford Grill there, that's American food, and that's also in the Tower Oaks area. There's Matchbox on Rockville Pike, there's Silver Diner on Rockville Pike as well. If you want Asian food, there's a ton of choices for that. Many of them are clustered around downtown Rockville, like Urban Hot Pot, Bangkok Garden, and Iron Age. If you want Peruvian or Latin food, you've got that too. La Canela, El Mariachi, there's even Greek food, Mykonos Grill on Rockville Pike, so I can go support my peeps. All right, and then what about fun? Well, I know most of this has been pros for the most part. There's a con when it comes to fun. I wouldn't necessarily call this pedestrian biker friendly paradise here, but they're trying. There's 34 miles of shared paths and trails and things like that. This isn't a place that you're going to hop on your bike or walk to a grocery store. That you're going to use the car for. But if you need to seek out trails or paths, you can absolutely do that. But it's just more that it's not going to be something that you're doing like on your way to somewhere. It's more like that's the destination and then you're hopping on your bike and going. Pros, everything else is a pro. There are 33 parks in Rockville, and every home in Rockville is a short walk to one of those parks. There are community centers, as many as you could possibly want. There's Lincoln Park, Thomas Farm, Twinbrook Community Center, Rockville Swim and Fitness Center. You have the Glenview Mansion Civic Center, you have Croydon Creek Nature Center, and then there's a Rockville Senior Center. There's tons of outdoor recreation activities too. You should check rockvillemd.gov because there's so much information on that website about all the activities and things that are going on in Rockville. To cover all the offerings would actually probably take me hours. I've been looking through their calendar at things. There are classes for sports, fitness, dance, arts, music. You've got sports clubs, festivals, 5Ks, 10Ks. They take their races seriously. They will shut down Rockville Pike for them. Rockville has newsletters that you can subscribe to on their website if you want news on various events or on specific topics or arts and culture or anything like that. As far as kids go, there are 3 high school pyramids here. You've got Wootton, Richard Montgomery, and Rockville High Schools. Wootton has a very well-ranked STEM program and is often ranked pretty highly on national lists. At one point it was in the 50s. I think now it ranks in like maybe the top 200. I've seen it in below 100 and I've seen it in the low 100s. Richard Montgomery has the county's first IB, which is the International Baccalaureate program. And Rockville High School is on the eastern side of Rockville, and that has both IB and AP programs. And it also has one for their school paper. They've won some journalism awards, which is really pretty cool. All right, doggies. So it's very dog friendly here. Dogs need licenses in the city and in Rockville, but once they have it, then they could use the city's dog park that's in the King Farm area, which is on the northern end of Rockville, just off Rockville Pike. There are tons of pet stores, groomers, daycare centers, recreation areas, and then there's lots of restaurants that have dog-friendly patios. There's an interesting tidbit. There's an off-leash dog program in Rockville where you can essentially get your dog approved to be off-leash, and if it can prove that it can be under voice command. But you know how you see those like field sobriety tests where you look at the person and think, I couldn't do that sober with my eyes open. How could you do that after drinking with your eyes closed, like standing on one foot? That's pretty much what the test is like for dogs.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Have you been drinking? No. We're gonna have to run some tests. Yeah. Go like this. Do this. With your eyes closed. Hop on one foot. Now switch sides. I'm sorry, you're drunk. Yeah.
I don't know, like they evaluate the dog and then they throw a bunch of things in the way. Like they'll have like some car go right by the dog beeping its horn, or have kids throwing a ball or playing, or have somebody come up to the dog and the dog is supposed to be totally focused on you like that whole entire time. I mean, I couldn't even do that. I can't expect my dogs to do it. Anyway, it's there if you need it, and if maybe your dog is like a superstar, you could have that happen for them. All right, so I know that this was mostly all good stuff with a few mention of cons. I generally think that the good of Rockville far, far, far outweighs the few negatives or cons. Since it's mostly all pros, all right, what are the cons? Well, traffic. There's a lot of traffic here. As I said, it's not like a place that you're going to be able to pop on your bike and go to the grocery store, so you're going to be in your car a lot, and that means everybody else is too, and there's traffic. Dealing with the Rockville government can, I mean, it can sometimes just really grate, especially if you're in that historic district. You just really want to be careful. And I think dealing with the historic district is potentially like a whole ball of joy on its own. But other than that, I love Rockville. I'm a huge fan. I lived there for 2 years. If you have any questions about Rockville or anything in the DC area, I am Melissa Tarsis, DC Real Estate Mama, and my contact info is coming next.